Welcome everybody, it's Holger Müller here from Constellation Research, doing my quarterly update in SAP with a person out in the trenches, Martin Fischer. Hey Martin, how are you doing?
Pretty good, Holger, and how are you doing?
I can't complain. It's almost Q1 is over, and I managed for the first time since I'm industry analyst to balance private and work travel. It's even up. It's going to change in Q2, but quite an achievement, inflection point if you want.
Wow. I'm got a bit back to travel mode the last 3 weeks. Wasn't used to that one, but yeah, it's also not only tiring, also some fun. So meeting people. But now I have a break again. I want also to welcome all the listeners of SAP Coffee Corner Radio, because we will, of course, as usual, publish it on YouTube and publish it on our podcast channel.
Welcome everybody from Coffee Corner. So I have no coffee here. So just tea and lemon-infused water to hydrate in the morning. All right, 4 topics about SAP, right? First, there's been a board transition in the making, right? We'll talk about this. Hasso Plattner handing over the reins supposedly is the plan.
If it comes true, finally.
Yeah. SAP's been busy on the data side with a DataSphere announcement. That's our second topic. And then we'll talk about that SAP wants and needs to grow with an SMB initiative on Grow. And then last but not least, something right from the trenches with Martin, the German Technologietage, right? There's not much advertised in the English-speaking world of SAP, but very important in the German-speaking part of SAP, which we know is overall pretty important, right?
Yeah, second largest market, as far as I know, for SAP, and the home turf of SAP. So yeah, I would say it's relevant there. Okay, let's start.
Yeah, it's interesting because I always jokingly say, SAP and same thing for Oracle and used to be for Microsoft. These are not public companies, right? These are privately owned companies which are publicly traded, right? So the owners have larger than life influence on that, right? And Hasso Plattner has been a super instrumental person for SAP, starting with what cemented SAP's leadership in the market, right? Looking for building an SMB product for the German market, which is very SMB-centric, which is a preview on SMB we'll talk about later, which then turned out, thanks to Moore's Law, who just passed away, Gordon Moore, right, turned out to be the platform for large enterprises, which at least from product strategy 30 years ago should still be using the mainframe today. So something went really, really wrong there for the industry, went really, really well there for SAP, with R3 being the most complete client-server system. Large kudos to Hasso on the architecture side, on picking the database, which was frenemy Oracle. Quite interesting part there, but the one which survived, he could have taken other ones, and SAP would have to re-platform, which is never that easy. So yeah, and he's getting older, right? He's not getting younger, and there was always rumors that he would. Sorry?
He's 79 already, I think.
Is he 79 already? He's over 75. Let's ask the internet to get this factually right. I forgot again. But there was always a stress from him to resign from that perspective. He's 79, absolutely right, Martin. You win this one. Yeah, because there was a retirement limit for the board and for board members. But hey, we're an owner-operated public company, so you can use the rules. And I think Hasso had a lot of fun coming with HANA, right? So going back, making SAP relevant on the technology side. Let's not talk about how that all went. But anyway, it has invigorated SAP. It's in the product landscape. And yeah, nobody can work on this forever. He wants to retire. He will retire. Interesting pick for his successor, right?
Yeah. A guy from the consulting service integration space, so from Deloitte, I think. You know him, probably.
Yeah. Mr. Rengen, very interesting pick, right? Normally product companies take product people, so and not services people. But Hasso in his interview, great interview by Christoph Kackmann on Handelsblatt, who got the previous scoop, right? Hasso is right, he says Mr. Rengen knows the business back and forward, inside out from implementing it, right? And what I think is interesting, right, in Deloitte, where he was CEO, very successful CEO, is kind of like a little bit like an SAP, which has very strong countries in different areas, and Deloitte is all set up on practices, so you have to keep everybody happy. I think that might be even more valuable for him to navigate SAP in the first years or months from understanding perspective than understanding SAP as an implementation partner. But on the flip side, like set state from German board oversight part, right? There's no heavyweight. I don't know if they tried. I don't know if they could find. Right? They had a love infection in the late 2010s or so with the Finnish guys. They had like multiple people from Nokia on the board, but they all got older faster, or were not the right people. I don't know. So, and nobody coming up from the management team, right? I mean, normally you could say, oh, Hasso hands it over to Bill McDermott. Hey, there's no Bill anymore. Or Henning van Snabe, right? Who was the co-CEO with Bill McDermott, and who's now at Siemens, right? He's a board member, but no.
Yeah, there were rumors in the German press that he didn't want to. So what I've read. So
yeah, interesting enough, right? So it says a lot, right? So, but yeah, we will see how this goes, right? Well, frankly, I think it's a big learning phase too, and Renchen is a very, very smart person, no doubt about this. With the German Mitbestimmung thing, that half of the board comes from the worker side, from the employment side, so that makes very different dynamics. You can't just decide what you want to do on the capital side. No question that can be learned, and Hasso is doing training on the job. So we will see how that works, right? Interesting tidbit was also that Hasso in the Handelsblatt interview said that Christian Klein actually pointed to the new board member, which could be a question on oversight, right? But I think it will give Christian Klein, Thomas Saueressig, Jürgen Müller a lot of leeway probably to how to build the product, right? So they can put even more the stamp, and there's no need for the proverbial trek to Potsdam to make sure that every major technology decision that Hasso is, or Palo Alto or South Africa sometimes, to make sure that Hasso is appraised and gives his blessing to what to do there. So
yeah,
we will see.
It will get interesting, and I think also from the operational board, I think the recent changes that we've got a new CFO within SAP, I'm really wondering if we will recognize their changes. Luca Mupa.
Yeah, I don't expect much change on the CFO side right now, right? So because all has been set up by Miko, and we'll be surprised. Can be wrong, right? I still have a small percentage that there might be a U-turn on the board thing. You never know with Hasso Plattner. So 5 or 10%, maybe he's not retiring, but he's going to adamantly say, "No, I'm retiring. I'm done with this. I had enough." Right?
I'm sure somewhere you can bet on this.
oh yeah, it would be interesting to see what the quota is in Las Vegas or in London or somewhere. Cool. Yeah. Anything else on the board changes, executive changes?
Yeah, just about the timeline. So it's the new board member. What's his name again? I forgot it. We didn't mention it.
Renchen. So
Pune is his last name, I think, if I got it right. He's originally from India.
Great career. Career.
Yeah, indeed. And he is, he will join the board this year in May, I think, after the main, how do you say that in English? The meeting of the shareholders meeting, and then the plan is that he will take over next year.